The My Ford University Podcast, episode 37. We're going to talk about the PDCA Loop today. This is your blueprint for a smart, simple, continuous improvement cycle. Okay. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from My Ford University. This is the My Ford University Podcast, the show where you get to learn what actually works in business, in careers, in life, without the fluff, without the jargon, without the ridiculous price tag. Traditional education is out of control, and we've got a different approach to it. So today we're talking about a deceptively simple tool that could permanently change how you solve problems, improve systems, or run your business or team. It is called the PDCA Loop. It stands for Plan, Do, Check, Act. And if you learn how to use it properly, it becomes a go-to framework for everything from fixing broken processes to launching new products to improving your own personal habits. So with that, let's break it down. Of course, you want to know, what is the PDCA Loop? Well, the PDCA Loop is a 4-step continuous improvement model. When you get into process improvement, it's always continuous. It's always a loop, folks. And it stands for Plan, which means that you're going to identify a problem or an opportunity and make a plan to improve. Do, you're going to test your plan on a small scale. Check, you're going to measure the results and analyze the outcome. And finally, act, you're going to standardize what works, adjust what doesn't, and repeat. It's often called the Deming cycle, after Dr. W. Edwards Deming, the guy who helped transform Japan's manufacturing systems after World War II. Toyota, you might have heard about this, uses these principles and others. But it actually goes back even further to Walter Schroedhart, the father of statistical quality control. Now, don't worry, we're not going to get too deep into statistics to use this, but it is part of the foundation of it. The bottom line on this thing, this model has decades of proven use in business operations and process improvement. It still works today in any industry with any team or any project. All right, get right to it. Why it matters. I mean, here's the truth, folks. Most people don't solve problems. They patch symptoms. I've talked about this before. I've said to people, you're telling me the what. You need to tell me the why. Don't just tell me what the symptom is. Tell me what the root cause is, and then we'll attack that. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on this thing. I want to do the surgery and cut out the problem and solve the problem once and for all. So a lot of people, they will jump from a problem to a solution and move on. No diagnosis, no testing, no checking, no learning. Remember, we've talked about root cause analysis, and this is really where it comes in and shines. So, these folks will keep fighting the same fires over and over and over again. Now, the PDCA forces a smarter cycle. It wants you and forces you to think before you act, to test before you scale, to learn before you repeat, and improve before you standardize. Whether you're running a factory, a marketing team, a tech startup, or your own solo business, this mindset makes you better. I can't say it enough. You always want to get to the root cause, so use root cause analysis. And it's kind of buried in here. You're going to hear it. All right. So let's talk about the 4 steps in action. We're going to go a little deeper in each one so that you get an idea of how to actually use it. So plan. This is where the real thinking happens. You've got to ask some questions. Always ask good questions. What's the real problem we're trying to solve? What is causing it? What data do we have? What would a successful fix look like? Do not skip this, folks. Most teams jump ahead and they guess. I've said it before. I have a saying. When in doubt, find out. Don't guess. I also say constantly ask why. Why, the 5 whys is what the foundation of the root cause analysis approach is, and it works here. I'll give you a quick real example here. Say your customer support tickets are piling up. Don't assume that the fix is hiring more people. Dig into the data. Maybe it's a broken onboarding process or you're missing help documentation. Your plan is to test a new service, frequently asked questions, FAQ, to reduce ticket volume by 20%. Okay. Don't just say, oh, we'll just throw more money at it. Oh, we'll just throw more people at it. No. Dig in to find out what it is. It could be something very simple. It's just broken or miscommunicated or misaligned, and it could be fixed with just as simple a thing as a self-serve FAQ. You might be able to knock some of the questions off. I've had this before. I've said to people, we could take some of these routine answers and use chatbots and only escalate when it's a more complicated situation. All right, let's move on to do. Now you test your plan. But here's the key. Small scale. Really look closely at it. This isn't a company-wide rollout. It's a pilot. Do a test. Run it with one team, one department. Run it for 1 week. Control the variables and watch it closely. I've also talked about the idea of scientific method. I have an article coming on that one at some point in the near future. Only want to check, one variable at a time. You want a control group where nothing changes, and you want one where you made one modification, and if it works, it'll be obvious that that's what it was, and then you can scale out and roll out big. So when you're doing this, you want to collect your observations. You want to track your KPIs, which are key performance indicators, if you're unfamiliar with that term. And don't forget to write down what happens. So back to our example. You launch the new FAQ for 2 weeks. You direct customers to it. You track how many tickets drop or not drop, but you're hoping that they do drop, and what kind of feedback you get. Now let's move on to check. Now comes the reality check. Did your test work? Compare the actual results to your expected outcome. Analyze it. Don't just look at the surface, and you see some little wins. Look a little deeper. Check for side effects. Don't forget the law of unintended consequences, folks. I've seen that. You want to check for hidden costs or, again, unintended consequences. Ask yourself, did we hit the goal? Did anything break or get or worse? You don't want to go backwards, and if you do, you got to check out and find out why. And you want to ask the question, what did we learn? As a project manager, we sometimes talk about the idea of doing postmortems after the facts. And what we are trying to accomplish is get what's called the key learnings. What worked, what didn't work, what can we improve for the next time? Okay, back to our example. Tickets dropped by 22%. Boom. But you notice people are still confused about the billing. That needs another fix. So you've gotten an incremental improvement, and you want to go and test something to get the next incremental improvement. But now that you have the data, not guesses, you've got gold, because now you can really zone in on it. Okay, you want to act. This is the final step. You make a decision based on what you've learned. If it worked, then standardize it. Train the rest of your team. Update your processes. Scale the solution. If it didn't work, I think you can guess. You make adjustments. You try again, and you go through the loop once more with better insight. If you get what you're looking for, a positive result, in this case, getting the tickets to drop, then you go through the process of what we just described, where it worked. You standardize it. You train the rest of the team. You update it, and you scale the solution all the way across. So going back to our example, you add the FAQ to the main support site. You train your staff to be able to reference it, and you start planning your next PDCA cycle. In this case, it's for that billing confusion issue. All right. Why this works in the real world. let me be clear. This is not just theory, it works in the field. I've done it because it forces clarity, testing, and follow through. You can use PDCA to do improved workflows. Done it. Launch new products. Done it. Reduce errors. Done it. One of the fastest ways to reduce errors, here's a little tip, is to cut the number of times something changes hands. I'll get into a broader one on that in the future. If you can reduce the number of touch points, errors tend to go down. All right. You can also do it to speed up delivery. Done that. You can build smarter teams. Done that. You can save time and money. That's almost a requirement every time you do this kind of thing. And you can eliminate guesswork. You know how I feel about assumptions, right? We don't want to guess. We don't want to assume. We want to suspect, investigate, and conclude. And in this case, you also want to make sure that you're finding out the why, not the what. And over time, this creates a culture of continuous improvement. By the way, you can use this not just in business, you can use it on yourself, constantly improving and getting yourself better. So this is not about chaos, it's not about crisis, it's just smart, steady progress. Once again, I always like to talk about this. What are the pitfalls and mistakes to avoid? So let's talk about them. There's 5 ways that teams can screw this thing up. Skipping the planning phase and just reacting. Oh boy. Now listen, if something is literally on fire, put the damn fire out. But otherwise, take a moment to pause and go through the planning process. Not analysis paralysis, just plan it. Number 2, doing a test that's too big. There's too many variables. Remember I talked about scientific method. You want to have one control group, and then you want to change one variable. Hopefully you get the right one on the first round, the first iteration. If you change more than one, you may not know which one it was that made the change, or it could be the combination of the two. We don't know. You also, on number 3, folks can screw this up by skipping checking and assuming it worked. I always say trust but verify. Make sure. Number 4, standardizing without understanding why it worked. What if you're putting the wrong process standard in place? I also recommend you create what's known as SOPs, standard operating procedures, once you get these things nailed down and dialed in. Number 5, in terms of screwing it up, doing it once and calling it done. Remember, this is a loop. This is a continuous process. If you avoid these, you will outperform almost any team, maybe 90% of teams. You'll outperform them if you avoid these pitfalls. All right, some quick use cases. Let's do a rapid fire one on some real world examples. In manufacturing, a factory can cut defects rates by running weekly PDCA cycles to analyze root causes. Seen it done. In software, a dev team can use it to test onboarding flows for an SaaS product, software as service product. Seen that done. Been part of doing these things. In HR, an HR leader can run a PDCA to redesign onboarding and improve retention. This is one area, again, not throwing shade at HR, but there's some things that could be fixed and improved. You guys should sometimes take your own advice. All right. In marketing, a copywriter tests subject lines for email campaigns and improves open rates by 30%. This gets into what's known as A/B testing. You should always check and do that, where you do 2 split runs and you try different approaches and try to find the winner. What one, there's an old expression, which ad pulled best. All right, and personally, someone uses it to tweak their morning routine to improve their focus. Again, human beings typically like growth and improvement, and this is a tool that can help them. All right, we're going to wrap this up now. Let's do some final thoughts. Better beats bigger. Let me leave you with this. You don't need to overhaul everything. Well, you don't need to do it all at once. You should try to touch on everything at some point. You don't need to be perfect. I don't believe in perfection. I've said this before. I believe in better. You can always get better. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes better. I say that all the time to people. You don't want to get stuck with analysis paralysis either on that whole perfect thing. All right. You also, I want to think of it from this perspective. You just will need to improve things and you need to do it with purpose. And it's a lot easier to do it with purpose when you have some tools to help you do that. And this is one of those great tools. The PDCA loop is how you stop guessing and start learning. It's also how you stop spinning your wheels and start building real momentum. And it is how you go from chaos to clarity. One simple cycle, one smart cycle at a time. Okay. Um, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you really liked it, I appreciate a like on it. If it helped you, please share it with your team or a business owner or project manager who could use it to improve what they do as well. Again, I always say, don't keep us a secret. Until next time, think clearly, work deliberately, and improve consistently. That's the My Ford University way, where you can learn it fast and apply it faster. Thank you.